All right, hello. Today's lesson topic is reading and writing in different genres. A genre is defined as a category of art, writing, music, or other form of expression, and it's characterized by similarities in form, style, or subject matter. So, obviously, you can have genres of film, art, music, genres of literature, genres of nonfiction, genres of writing. It's a little bit different than a text type or text style. Um, And the reason why this is important to learn how to read and write in different genres is uh, identifying a genre really helps us understand things like patterns in a text. So it has to do with patterns and predictions. For example, you might be watching a horror movie and you know right away that as soon as a side character uh, goes off alone doing their own thing, they're probably going to be a victim of whatever horrible situation or enemy is out there hunting them. Okay. As soon as you're watching a scary movie and they go down to the basement, like there's obviously going to be a jump scare. We can make really good predictions when we know what genre something is going to be. If you were to go into a film and your friend was playing a prank on you and said, hey, we're going to go see a comedy, and then it's not a comedy, it's like a drama, you're going to be confused and make the wrong kind of predictions and identify the wrong type of patterns. Okay. That's why genre is so important. So let's talk about some of the main genres of reading and writing. Take some good notes on this. Okay. So literary genres of fiction, there are a few main types, and this is not an exhaustive, meaning complete list, but it will give you kind of a start. So we have drama, which is characterized in a script. There's very little narrative. There's only stage directions and dialogue. Fable. There's obviously fantasy fiction. Another common genre is historical fiction. Whoops. Okay, we've got poetry. Another common one is mythology. The Odyssey is mythology, by the way. Then we have short story. You may have studied some short stories in your English class. Mystery. And again, this is not an exhaustive list. Okay. Let's talk about nonfiction genres. So in nonfiction, we have, let's see, one common one could be biography or autobiography. Now that we've done a lot of root word work, we know that bio means life, graph means to display or write. So we unpacked this word the other day, but auto would be self, bio, life, graph, writing. So writing down your own story, writing down about yourself. Okay. We have an essay. Okay. That's actually, an essay is a genre. An essay could include, like, some articles are considered like a personal essay. Obviously, you write essays for English class, and they follow different patterns, and they usually have a thesis, and you have an introduction paragraph, a conclusion paragraph, you have evidence. It's normally argumentative, but then you have things like narrative nonfiction, which is more like a true story, factual information presented as a story, kind of like a journal article. Or if you've read the book Claudette Colvin, The Civil Rights Story, that's a good example of narrative nonfiction. It's a true story, basically told as like very similar to a fiction text. Okay. Also, if you've read Night, that could be considered similar. It's technically literary nonfiction. Okay. So the next one is just nonfiction, informational text. And then we've got a speech. We all know what a speech is. Okay. So again, when we read and write in different genres, we can make really effective predictions and identify valuable patterns. A really, really good question to ask yourself before you read a book, like especially a full-length book, is what genre is this book? Or before you read a text, what genre is this text? And then also what predictions are reasonable to make based on just the genre. And that can really help you follow along with the text even when it's an unfamiliar topic or unfamiliar author, etc. Okay, a couple more things on genre. Let's take a look here before we go. So genre is different than text type. So let's talk about genre versus text type. Genre separates artistic work, whereas text type is usually related to the concept of like an essay or an article. So like a shorter work. We talked about text types earlier or last semester together, but let's take a look here. So some common ones are compare contrast. So you could have a full length compare contrast book. Like compare contrast could be a nonfiction text. It could be an essay. You could have an expository. So that's strictly expository or informational. Usually pretty dry, just lays out the facts for you. You have persuasive. Let's see, you have problem solution. This one's really common, guys. If your English teacher assigns you articles and you might ask, okay, first off, what genre is this? And you might identify it as like an essay. Problem solution is really common. Your author might start with like an anecdote. So this is why this is so important. Your author in a problem solution text is often going to follow a pattern similar to this. Personal anecdote, like, hey, I was walking around the other day and I noticed, the problem of homelessness has gotten really bad, and then tell the story and then share the facts. So then you've got like your logos, and then kind of pathos to draw the reader in, get them to do something, conclusion and call to action, which is like your solution. It's a really common way to structure like a problem solution essay. So that's why text types and genres can really help us, because they follow often very familiar and predictable patterns. Like a song that you know what's coming, or an article or a poem that you can kind of guess the ending to, okay? So we talked about these last semester, so this should be review, compare, contrast, expository, informational, persuasive, problem solution. I'm ashamed that I need to do a quick Google search to remember the rest of them. Don't remember them off the top of my head. Oh, narrative. Okay. So this is where there's some overlap between text type and genre. So narrative is story. Okay. So sometimes you might have a narrative essay, like somebody telling a long story that's for a point. Okay. So there can be some overlap. What else did we learn about? Oh yeah, that's right. Sequence or chronological. So step by step. Problem solution. Oh, and then cause and effect. There we go. That's all of them I think that we covered. Cause and effect can really seem like problem solution. There can actually be a lot of overlap. Let's put these ones next to each other because they're quite similar. There we go. Can be quite a lot of overlap between problem solution, sequence and chronological, cause and effect, and narrative. But the more you read, the more effective you'll become at differentiating those types. And again, it's all about making those solid predictions and identifying those patterns. Those are two really important effective reading skills. Quick and effective readers can identify patterns and make accurate predictions as they read, because they know the genre, they're comfortable with the text type, and they have already made predictions based on things like just the genre, the title, the author, etc. And last but not least in this lesson, those are always good things to consider. So before you read, what is the genre? Who is the author? Do I know about the author? What is the text type? What is the length of the text? What is the title? Is there a subtitle? What is the publication date? By the way, it's possible if you're writing let's say a 4-sentence rhetorical précis, that first sentence, that claim sentence, it's almost possible to write that without even reading a text sometimes. because most of the information in that first sentence has to do with these really important things about a text. Okay, so always enter a text knowing those things, or asking those questions. That's part of effective reading. All right, thank you for joining me in this lesson.